going to share 3 stories from 3 different parts of my career that embody technology and inclusion. And then I'll give you 3 of my life lessons that is intended to put you at the center of driving the future. I'm going to start with story number 1. This is a story about Kalpana Rajesh. She comes from Vijayawada. Anyone here from Vijayawada? Yeah, anyone? Okay, 2 hands. Well, I happen to be going there right after this session. But Kalpana found her craft in the making of bridal flowerware through the power of social media. She started with making bridal flowerware for her friends, posting it on Facebook. Very quickly, word of mouth, it spread across town that she makes beautiful flowerware. She started getting orders from both her town and neighboring towns. She employed 4 women to start working from her house. And then fast forward a few years later, when we featured her at Facebook, she was running multiple stores across the country, employing 300 plus women. Okay? Totally. And by the way, as I was flying in, I just came in from the United States. And so as I was flying in, I said, let me check what her latest numbers are. And Pelli Pula Jada, which is the name of her company, which, as many of you know, literally translates to wedding bridal braids. It now has 78 branches across India and 3 in the United States, right? The way she used technology to meet the needs of customers, not just in India, but across the globe, the way she used technology, the power of social, the power of mobile, by the way, to build a business from her home as she was bringing up her children, and what she has done to expand her global franchise is truly impressive. And by the way, she didn't stop just there. She created a new company called Deco by Krishna that is focused on sustainable decor. And if those numbers were impressive, she now has 32 branches in India and 22 branches internationally, okay? I just spoke to her 2 days ago as I was coming in and saying, I'm so happy about how you have been growing. And she said, oh, by now, I'm now focused on teaching Bhagavad Gita classes in her local neighborhood. And I bet you, I'm telling you, 2 years later, she'll be one of the top course providers at a Coursera or something. So watch for that, right? It is a beautiful, beautiful example of my favorite mantra. When businesses succeed, livelihood flourish, and technology is a huge enabler for that. All right, let's go to story number 2. And now I'm going to the next part of my career, which is in SoftBank Vision Fund. I was the first female investment partner at SoftBank Vision Fund, which is one of the largest tech funds in the world with over $130 billion under management. So I went from the world of Facebook, where I was their first employee for Facebook in India, their first managing director for India and South Asia, to the world of investing with SoftBank. And I was investing in areas like quantum computing, additive manufacturing, mental wellness, gaming, HR tech, blockchain, and more. This first picture is the first time I went to the New York Stock Exchange for ringing the famous IPO bell to support my portfolio company. This is INK. This was SoftBank's first quantum computing investment. And by the way, for doing diligence for this investment, I wrote a quantum computing program to test their product. And I learned not from an instructor who was teaching at a university, but I learned from a 20-plus-year-old girl who was creating YouTube videos to make technology accessible. So for all of those who are creating, again, more power to you. How many creators do we have in the room? I know we heard from a few. Okay, all right. Now, everyone needs to raise their hand because each one of you are a creator. And what you share, no matter in what area it is, there are people who want to hear. So let's make sure. I'm going to ask one more time. How many creators do we have in this room? And we need every single one. Awesome. Okay, this is a picture with another one of my investments. This is the CEO of Eightfold.ai, which is a talent intelligence platform. I led their $200 million investment. The company was valued at $2 billion. The thesis at SoftBank was that AI is transforming every sector as we know it. And by the way, this was 2018 before today. AI is the every second word that everyone talks about. We were investing in this thesis that AI is going to change every sector, healthcare, education, retail, fintech, every sector. is being disrupted by this technology. To be thinking about how we tackle biases, how we think about ethical AI, how we think about transparent AI in everything that we do and tackle that head on. But for this audience, as you think about driving the future, I want to take that challenge one step further. And I want to ask you, how is it that you can use AI to actually solve biases and actually solve some of the most complex problems that the world is facing? And I'm going to give you one example of how AI was used to solve bias. And this was in the context of the investment in Eightfold.ai. It is a talent intelligence platform. You can go upload your resume to one of the companies that they support, and the algorithm does an AI matching that looks far beyond your resume and does an AI matching and suggests to you what are the right roles that are right for you. What happened? What happened is that they saw some of their companies, more than a 50% increase in diverse candidates who were applying. One might ask, how did that happen? Well, you know, there's research that says that, and for all the amazing men in this room, this is just research, but it says that when men look at a role and they see a 60% match to the job description, they think that they're the next best thing to slice bread for that role. Okay? This is just research. But women look at a role, and what percentage match do they need to see to feel that they are the right person in the role? Any guesses? 100%. And so what happened? This tool was surfacing roles for people, and women and other diverse candidates looked at it and said, really? You think I am a perfect match for this role? And so here was a beautiful example of really AI being used to tackle the biases that exist in people, in individuals, and for each one of us, especially the women in this room. Lean forward, know that there are roles that you can apply for that you might not think you're ready for, but that your neighboring male colleague thinks that they're more than ready for. So go raise your hand and apply for those roles. And this is a challenge I want to leave each one of you with, is how can you actually use AI and technology to solve bias and solve the problem of inclusion. Okay, my final story takes us to the role that I play today as a co-founder and CEO of Verix. We are an AI-enabled blockchain platform, and we started with solving the monetization problem for creators. So this is beautiful artwork from Autism Center in Toronto. This is digital authenticated artwork that comes with its blockchain certificate that makes a distinction between this particular image and all of the copies that could have been made out in the world. I often equate it to looking at two diamonds, and even some of the gemologists might not be able to make a difference with their naked eye, but one comes with a GIA certificate that adds a few more zeros to the price versus the other, and that is the equivalent of what technology does for you when you use the power of blockchain. Since then, we have also focused in being a B2B2C company, which is a company that sells to businesses that then sells to consumers. And we do a lot of work in the work of areas like skilling. And this is an example of a living certificate patent pending technology where you can measure the journey of people over time. And it ties in directly to the announcement that was just made about badging the INK Women, in which case it's not just about what someone tells, but this is a hard proof that can feed it into all of your AI algorithms that sets you apart from what you have said to actual proof of what you have actually done. And in this case, our living certificate helps evolve your journey over time and helps you in an immutable, verifiable way track your expertise, your courses, your skills over time. I do want to call out Infosys leadership in both the blockchain space as well as the AI space. I was also so excited to read about their recent announcement with Andhra Pradesh, where they're part of the statewide skill census. If any one of you are working in that area, I would love to talk, and I'd love to see what we can do together. And as we think about all of these technologies, really keeping in mind that blockchain is almost a sister technology to AI, I would love for us to think about a world where India is not only the supplier of the largest AI talent in the globe, but also the largest supplier of verified AI skills. And even more so, wouldn't it be wonderful if we were the largest source of verified women workforce? Wouldn't it be wonderful? Yes? Yes. And what we're doing with INKWomen is just a start. All of the folks in the diversity inclusion group, all of you again should be recognized. People are using us to badge contributions to AI reports. People are using us for membership, for certifications, and more. So let your imagination run wild about all the things that need trust in this global world, and how is it that we can use technology to elevate that. I've highlighted 3 different parts of my career. Folks, research says that for Gen Z on average will have 5 to 7 different careers in your lifetime. We're not talking 5 to 7 jobs, all right? We are talking about 5 to 7 different careers. Well, I am no Gen Z, but I have had the privilege of seeing that kind of a career journey. I guess I was always ahead of my times. I'll take that. And I firmly believe that the best is still yet to come. We will all live to be 80, 90, 100 and beyond unless something untoward happens. I still have a few decades of impact, and I intend to make the most of every single day of that. So one might ask, what drives me? What have I learned through these past few decades that I take with me into the next few decades of impact? I want to share with 3 life lessons, and then I'll talk about one lesson that wraps it all together. And the life lessons are based on different stages of where you are in your journey of life. Okay? So first one. So are you ready? Ready for life lessons? Okay? Okay. All right. So step 1. If you are in the phase of life where you're thinking about the right partner for your life, okay? First thing I'll say, by the way, if you want to have a partner, phenomenal. If you don't want to have a partner, that's phenomenal as well, okay? But if you are ready for that partner that you want to choose, remember that the most important career decision that you will make is a partner that you choose. It will not be the industry that you go into, the first manager that you have, the first company that you go to. It truly will be the partner that you choose. And I wouldn't be here on this stage if not for phenomenal support of my husband, my partner, who has supported me every single day of my life. I will tell you this quick story where right here in Bangalore, I overheard my mother-in-law asking him one day, saying, how much does Kirthiga really earn? I can tolerate anything, but I cannot tolerate my daughter-in-law making more than my son, okay? And she didn't know that I was somewhere in the corner. And I froze, and I said, okay, what is he going to say? How is this going to unravel? And I could almost hear the smile in his face when he replied back to his mom. And he said, Mom, you know what I want for her? I want her to be so successful that I can retire and stay home with the kids, right? It takes a man with a lot of confidence to say that to an Indian mom, and that is the kind of partner that I have. So everyone who are thinking about the partner, look at, does a partner's eyes light up when you talk about your career goals? And if you see that light up, then it might be the right partner for you. Step 2, as you go forward in life, as you think about, and I know we have many young students here, and so this is several years out, but I might not get to meet you, so I'll share this advice with you. And then there are people in other stages of life as well. So as you're ready to think about having children, which another is a personal choice. If you want to have children, have children. If you don't want to have children, problem, don't have children. But if you're ready to have children, I certainly went through a phase where for the first few years, I was not ready to have children. The next few years, I was like kind of ready, but then I postponed it for the smallest reason. I'm going to a conference, I can't be pregnant. I'm going to a wedding, I can't be pregnant. And then a few years later, when I decided that we're ready, we found that, it just doesn't happen just because you are ready. And, right? And it took us a few years. And both my girls were born with the help of IVF technology, which is an infertility technology. And I'm very, very grateful for the role of technology for the gift of motherhood. And so my lesson there for you is that as you're getting to that stage, there never will be like a perfect time. And the corollary of that is that if you're ready for having children, then it is always the perfect time. And something will happen to make sure that you are supported in that decision. Okay. Which then takes me to the third phase, which is when you have children, nothing will test your juggling ability, your multitasking ability, as much as that act of juggling, motherhood, fatherhood, and work. And a superpower that I want to share with you is the superpower of the and versus the tyranny of the or. What do I mean by that? There are several times that things are presented to you as an and choice, and while we're all practical in knowing that it's not always an and, there are more often than not, if you think outside the box, you can convert what seems to be an or choice into an and. I remember when I had my second child, I was running product management. I needed to travel for my work. It was really important for me to nurse my second child, just as I did for my first. Again, a personal choice. You could go either way. But it was important to me, and I had several agonizing nights saying, is this the time that people talk about when you have to make a choice between one or the other? And then it struck me one day, I don't have to make a choice. So for the first year, I traveled with her, and something happened in each place that I traveled to support my decision. Someone's wife had a daycare center, something happened. And it's beautiful how once you decide to do something, nature conspires to make things happen for you. And so embrace the superpower of the and versus the tyranny of the or. I'm going then from life lessons, from a personal perspective, to share with you how this all comes together for your career. And we heard some of this in the interaction before. And I'd really encourage, I love passion and purpose that was shared. And I'd really encourage each one of you to dream big dreams and to follow your passion and to follow your purpose and to think about your values. And in doing that, one of the lessons is to leave room for serendipity. Certainly very important for me, and we have someone who agrees, certainly very important for me as someone who over-optimizes every single minute and says, oh my God, am I making the most of every single minute, to also make sure that you're leaving time for just things that call you at your heart, mind, and soul. I had the opportunity to be the chair of Stanford Business School, which is my other alma mater. I got my MBA from there. And a lot of people ask me, Kirthiga, how does one become the chair of the Stanford Business School Management Board? And my answer, it's a true story, is that it started in Bangalore, and it started with me organizing chips and salsa for 3 people. Okay? It's a true story. What's the backstory? I was the alumni chair for the Hyderabad chapter of Stanford Business School. We had 7 alums at that time. Anytime I would organize something, 3 people would show up, given travel. So I had to, my job, that very fancy title, was about organizing chips and salsa for 3 people. I was so frustrated with the amount of effort and the output that I said, I'm going to make this a cross-business school mixer. And some of the friends that I made then, I'm now 15 years ago, are friends that continue to be some of my best friends. They're investors in my new company, and that came from there. What also came from there was that when the dean of Stanford Business School visited India, he would spend time with the chapter chairs. And I got to know him really well, and that is what led him to invite me to join the board of Stanford Business School. I used to do a 22-hour flight ride to go to the board meetings, and then eventually he invited me to chair the Stanford Business School Management Board. So, leave room for serendipity, and as Steve Jobs has said in one of his favorite convocation speech at Stanford, dots often connect in the hindsight. If I tie this all up together, one phrase, my favorite Facebook poster that's across all Facebook offices, it's the phrase, what would you do if you weren't afraid? I think this was also a theme that came up in the pre-engagement, pre-discussions, where we spoke about, not being afraid and Jen's jumping in. Someone asked about jumping into things without thinking about failure. Exactly, what would you do if you weren't afraid? I've used this philosophy across both career as well as personal. These are pictures from my trek to the Everest Base Camp. This was my second time doing it. I went with my daughter. And our theme song was from the Lego movie. Everything is awesome when you're part of a team. So that's what we sang at every journey, every time everything was hard. And so that spirit of what would you do if you weren't afraid is reflected not just in my work, but on my personal life. This is a picture from me ringing the New York Stock Exchange bell for International Equality Day 2 years ago. I was representing my social impact company called Lifttree, which is focused on working mothers. I know we have Neha as well here. She's going to talk about her story. And so we really need to stem the 39% mid-career drop-off that we see. That's what this organization works on. And I was there at New York Stock Exchange to shed light on the equality issue that exists with mothers. Maternity bias is the strongest and the hardest gender bias of them all, and we really need to address that. And my last picture for today is this picture where I'm part of all-women SPAC management team. It's an alternate way to go public. They've just announced a merger with a company called Ace Green, which is in the sustainability space. Again, one of the most important challenges facing the world. And what I want you to carefully look at is the picture behind the woman at the New York Stock Exchange bell ringing. In the center, you see my husband. who's cheering for me. Again, the most important decision that you make will be the partner that you choose. And on the upper right, you will see my mother. My mother, who's based in Chennai, she didn't have the opportunity to have her high school education, to finish her high school education, because her parents said, you only need enough math to do the grocery bill. Her brother, by the way, got a postgraduate degree, so it wasn't that they didn't know the value of education. Here was my mother who did not finish her high school education, who joined us over Zoom at the New York Stock Exchange in New York, and she watched and was with her daughter and her granddaughters who are also there on the podium. You just don't see them there on this side. And it was one of the proudest moments of my life to just reflect on the change that one generation can make and the responsibility that each one of us have in this room to really drive the change that we want to see. And so with that, by the way, when I went for that bell ringing, you also get an opportunity to write on, just like a Facebook wall, you have a New York Stock Exchange wall. And I said, here I'm here with Lift, which was then called Ladder. And I said, I will be back with Virtualness and Verix. That is also about manifesting big, bold visions, another topic that we spoke about. So I leave you again with this thought. This is a period of massive transition. We need you to embrace technology. We need you to think inclusion every single step of the way. And I want to leave you with the question, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Thank you for having me, Lakshmi, Archana, and the Infosys team. All right.